For 2022, let's look at some tips for what you can do to either start or continue your journey of learning about digital assets and financial independence. I'm Corey, and on this channel, I help you decode technology and innovation to grow your wealth on the journey to financial independence. Let's get into the top 5 things you can do to prepare yourself for a prosperous 2022, whether or not you are new to digital assets and financial independence or already well on your way. First, whether or not you think you fully understand how to use a hardware wallet, in my opinion, everyone should at a minimum understand how to take physical possession of your private keys. Maybe you're not all in on this topic. Maybe you think it's a security risk because of where you live. Regardless, I would encourage you to take the time to have a hardware wallet like a Ledger or a Cold Card if you want to go all in on Bitcoin only and have, for example, $5 or €5 of your token of choice and actually follow the steps to move your tokens off of exchange into the hardware wallet. You can even move the tokens back into the exchange if you want, but my point is that the experience will help you understand what it means to take custody of your private keys and to go walk around with the knowledge that your control is physically in your pocket and you hold them. Check out my video on hardware wallets above and in the link below. The next thing I think will be helpful for your learning and to make things real is to hold some small amount of stablecoin, such as USDC, whether in a hardware wallet or on exchange. I have a video on stablecoins, but to recap, a stablecoin is a tokenized version of fiat currency pegged 1-to-1. It does not change drastically in value, and you can easily convert a stablecoin to the pegged value in cash. Or you could use the same stablecoin and you could lend via DeFi or earn a yield. Just like with a hardware wallet, actually using some small amount of stablecoins in real life, sending them to yourself, your hardware wallet, or to a friend, it will help you understand the power of the technology and why so many people are so enthusiastic about these innovations. One thing that I'm personally planning to do for 2022 is to read more. Pre-2020, I read about a book a week, but during 2020 and all the craziness that transpired until now, I've noticed that I've not been able to devote as much time to just blocking out personal blocks for reading and personal development. I think a mix of the work-life balance, being stuck on Slack, Zooms, and all this instant communication is great, but at the same time, I think it's good to set aside basically personal time for oneself and sort of decompress. And a book, whether in a Kindle format or in an actual paperback, is a great way to do that, and you can find all sorts of interesting topics. Be on the lookout in 2022 as I have more on that on the channel here. For 2022, I want to ask you to do me a favor and share this channel and the videos with people you think it could help. For 2022, my goal is to help at least 1,000 new people cut through the hype and noise and start to wrap their heads around digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and what it means for their financial independence. You also may not know, but I launched a free newsletter in October of this year, and I've been releasing it every week to help you keep up to date on what is going on and to try to educate in a written format on some topics that are blockchain based, but go into more depth than you can in a video format. I'll put a link above and in the show notes if you want to subscribe to get my weekly insights for what's going on in the blockchain ecosystem broadly. I was meeting with some friends the other day and explaining to them that unlike the stock market, where you can't really look and see exactly what long-term holders or short-term traders are doing, in this blockchain world, you can actually look on chain and get a real sense of what people are doing versus what they're actually saying. And I think this is profound. And I go into some of that detail in my newsletter. So let's land the plane here. And for all those who stuck around, I want to leave you with my predictions for what I think we'll see in 2022. Of course, I have no crystal ball and I'm not a guru, but I thought it would be fun to look back a year from now and basically be able to laugh at myself and see how wrong I was. Let's do a drum roll. First, I think we'll have a major move in Bitcoin to a new upward level by the end of 2022. I specifically say by the end of 2022 because who knows what the next 3 months or weeks is going to hold, but I think that when we look back on the balance of the year, the movement will have been up and to the right. Let's see if that holds. I think 2022 will also be the year that local banks in your communities start offering crypto products and services, but the caveat is I think there's a high probability that the banks may not allow you to actually withdraw those tokens for various regulatory reasons. So next we have DeFi. I think DeFi is going to become a normalized way to generate a sustainable yield or income based on assets held. In this case, it might be yield based on stablecoins, which are pegged, as I said, 1-to-1 to a fiat currency, but it's also likely to be yield generated based on other tokens. For example, Luna or Polkadot or Solana, etc. But I think the whole concept of staking tokens to earn a yield is going to explode much more than it has in this year and become much more of a mainstream concept and product offering. So fourth, I think the United States will finally get a Bitcoin spot ETF. And my prediction is most likely it's going to be in Q4 of 2022, but let's see. For my video on that issue, you can check out in the show notes below, and I'll put a link here above of what's going on with that and the products already offered in other jurisdictions, such as Canada. So let's see here. I think we're going to also see pro-Bitcoin and generally pro-crypto politicians around the world become a normalized thing as mass adoption and global acceptance starts to take hold, and certain leading politicians recognize the benefits of this from a voter and a constituency perspective. I know in the United States, we've already started to see this with people of certain parties aligning themselves, but let me know in the comments below if you're outside of the US, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What have you noticed on this trend? Next, I think every financial channel, whether it's TV, YouTube, or other thought leaders on personal finance, are going to be speaking and pounding the table about crypto as part of financial independence journey. But don't forget who was pounding the table on this first. Yours truly. Let me know in the comments what your goals are for 2022 and what are you most hopeful for. Join me on the path to decoding technology and innovation to grow your wealth on the journey to financial independence. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time.